Hello and welcome everyone to episode 73 of Video Game Club. As always, I am your host Tyler, and I am joined today by my wonderful disco king and queen, Austin and Mox.
Hello.
This game has a lot to do with disco, right? 70s? That's what I heard. We also have a special guest with us today, Aaron.
Hello.
Aaron, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you
Good.
for asking, Tyler.
Yeah, thank you for joining.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. Please introduce yourself and tell us, what have you been playing?
Oh, well, I'm Aaron. I play a number of things. I play pinball with Tyler. That's how we met.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess what I've been playing lately, Tears of the Kingdom. Still a lot to do there. Picked up Deep Rock Galactic on the Steam sale.
Ooh.
The main thing I've been playing is Theatrhythm Final Bar Line on the Switch.
Ooh.
What is your favorite song?
Oh, probably that flamenco song from 9.
That's a good one.
Where you're doing the sword display, the stage fighting towards the beginning. That's a real bop.
Nice. Wow. Mox, what like that? I feel like that's kind of aligned with some of the games that you like. What have you been playing?
A lot of Final Fantasy 16 and 14. 16, amazing. They invented several things that I just need to be in every video game now, including ATL, active time lore. You can stop any cutscene in the middle, and it will give you a whole bunch of little like lore icons to see, so you can remember what's going on. If something new pops up, it'll have a little red dot by it, letting you know, oh, you haven't seen this, or this card that you've seen before is now updated. It is amazing.
That's sick.
I can't get enough of it. And
Any cutscene. Yeah.
And in the middle of the game, you could do that too. Also, if you have full potions, because you can only carry some of them, and you walk up to one, what does it say in the top right corner? Insufficient inventory space, potion used. It just uses them right when you pick them up. I couldn't believe it. And then the third thing is these like, you only have how many? 3 accessory slots?
3.
But they give you these, they're like accessibility things, and they take up an accessory slot, but they will accommodate you, having difficulty with the game. There's one that you only have to press like one button to do combat. So nice. Yep. I use the one that's focus. I just have a hard time seeing when things are telegraphing they're going to attack me. With that ring, the game slows down like, I don't know, maybe 50% of the times that I could dodge something, and it slows down and gives me a prompt that's like, hey, you should dodge right now. Love it. Just want this in every game going forward. Amazing. And the game is good, of course.
Yeah, I agree completely. The game is great, and all of those things that you mentioned are super helpful and should be in every game, especially the active time lore. That is huge. And the thing I like about the accessibility stuff is you get to choose, like, you can have 3 slots, and there's more than 3 options that you can pick from, and you can like put them in and out. Did you see the one with like with the dog where you can?
Yes, I had to use that one because I did not know how to use the dog, but now I know how to use the dog.
Same. I had to use it temporarily because I was wondering why he wasn't doing his thing.
Right.
Yeah. Austin, what have you been playing?
Not Final Fantasy 16 because I don't have a PS5,
Boom.
but impatiently waiting for it to come to PC.
Did you see what they said about it? They were like, it's 6 months exclusive, but don't expect the game in 6 months. We'll start working on it in 6 months. It'll take way longer than that to optimize.
I did see that. Thank you for rubbing the salt in the wound. No, I've been playing. I did Yakuza 7 Like a Dragon. Finally finished that up yesterday. So I'm getting closer to being caught up. I still have to play through the Judgment games and Ishin. We'll see if I make it through all of that before Gaiden comes out in November. But
oh my goodness!
I believe in you.
Also I picked up the Klonoa collection on Steam, and so I played through the first one. I just completed that yesterday. And yeah, that's basically what I've been playing.
Nice. Austin, you left out Operation Tango.
Oh shoot, that's right. We've been playing that slowly over time. That's been a good time.
It's a 2-player co-op game. I think we talked about it last episode, maybe. But we we finished that. Well, it's like different depending on which character you play as, but we did one character each. We played through the whole thing. We started the Final Fantasy, what's it called?
Stranger of Paradise.
Stranger of Paradise, yeah. It's okay.
I do not know what that is.
It's a Tecmo Koei, like Final Fantasy Souls-like.
Yeah, it's the action RPG.
Yeah.
It's rated M. It's all about kill chaos.
Yeah. Final
Jack
Fantasy
Garland.
16 is a lot better. So I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy 16 as well, and I've been dumping a lot of time into Creeper World 4, and that's been a pretty good time.
Haven't you guys been playing Pixel Lines?
Yeah, I forgot to bring that up.
Over time.
Yeah. Thank you for the recommendation, Mox. I've been playing Pixel Lines. I picked it up. I think it was $5 on Switch for like the deluxe edition. And I even got my girlfriend to sit down and play some. Yeah, I know, Mox. So, and she was digging it. She was digging the Pixel Lines. Yeah. Yeah. So welcome to the discussion about Pixel Lines. You thought this was about Disco Elysium. You're wrong. No. Before we get started, just as a reminder, this is Video Game Club, where usually every 2 weeks we discuss a game voted on by our wonderful friends in the Bombchu Discord and discuss that game right here on twitch.tv/BombchuTV. If you can't catch us live, don't worry. You can find it on YouTube, all major podcast services. And if you appreciate what you're hearing, please consider subscribing, rating, commenting, all those things, and coming to the Discord and nominating a game, because the next vote is a community one. So we will take nominations and we will throw them in a vote, and then the whole community will vote on something, and then everyone will play that game, and it'll be a good old fun time. The nominations for this episode were suggested by Mox, and they were Paranorma Site, The 7 Mysteries of Hanjo, Disco Elysium, and the old Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc. And Disco Elysium won. And I'm assuming it won because it was highly acclaimed.
Everyone heard about it.
It's a great game.
We'll get there.
It's got overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam.
Yeah. I do want to say, I'm going to throw it out there right now. The only person that has finished this game, to my knowledge, Mox, unless you finished it,
No.
Okay. The only person that finished this game is Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
We love Aaron. But this is one of the main reasons he's here, because he has beat the game. And I want to say that it's okay to not, it's okay if you're not digging something. If you're playing something for fun and you're not having fun, it's okay to put it down.
I have words about this. In book clubs, and of course this is a video game club in the same way that a book club is a book club, it is called a DNF, did not finish. No one judges a DNF. Don't finish a book you don't like. Same with the video game. All right.
I think the only time you get judged in a book club like that is if you just never even try to read the book. My mom was part of a book club, and there was one member who would just never, ever even buy the book. They come and try to pretend like...
Yeah.
That is despicable.
I think I put in... but anyway, I just wanted to get that out of the way, because I think... Sometimes people are like, I have to finish something. And this goes for anything. Like, you got games in your backlog, you don't want to play them. You play for a couple hours and you just weren't feeling it. Just abandon it. DNF. Don't put your life is short. You only have so much time.
DNF is the same as a rating.
Yeah. Okay. Disco Elysium. An isometric, heavy narrative RPG. Developed and published by, I have no idea how to say this dev, so I'm just going to spell out them letters. ZA/UM. They're UK based. They have over 100 people worldwide, and this was their first and only game so far. Disco Elysium was inspired by Planescape Torment and other Infinity Engine era RPGs, and it was written and designed by a team led by an Estonian novelist named Robert Kurvitz. We're not going to dive into the whole legal stuff. But there was, unless Mox, are you pretty knowledgeable? Do you feel like you can give a quick overview?
I thought it was. They got a pretty tempting offer to sell it and then ended up having no rights over anything after they sold it, which was ironic given the nature of the game is very anti-capitalist.
Yeah, basically that's it. They needed publishing money, and the deal they signed was really disfavorable to them.
That's
But as the game says, even the things that critique capitalism are consumed by capitalism.
We got to play Katamari.
That's it. This is really just a Katamari spinoff.
Oh my gosh, no.
Track it on IGDB.
No. All right, that's enough out of you, Austin. This game was released October 15th, 2019 on Windows, and it came later, and Mac. It came a little later to Mac, and then it came to every platform, all the major ones, as the Final Cut, and it even got an update on Windows and Mac. My understanding is the Final Cut adds a lot of voice acting and some additional side quests, I'm pretty sure. So 2019, what was going on? Well, it was pre-COVID. We had the Xbox One SAD, the Valve Index, the Switch Lite, the Stadia, rest in peace, and some others. Software, we had Apex Legends, Luigi's Mansion 3. Mox, you remember Luigi's Mansion 3?
Yes.
You came over.
Yes.
Polterpup was stuck to my butt, and Luigi as Luigi. Yes,
so great.
We had a game-breaking bug. Oh yeah, yes. it was great. Borderlands 3, Gears 5, and others. And then there are a handful of games that we played for Video Game Club so far. Plague Tale, which I think was one of the beginning ones.
That's another real positive, upbeat.
Yes, I finished that one. That one was good.
Yeah. Death Stranding. Also, just a real positive message, you know?
Yeah, what was going on in 2019?
Yeah.
Was Firewatch that year?
I don't think so. Control, Toho Luna Nights we played, and then Sayonara Wild Hearts. So those are all games that we played for Video Game Club that came out in 2019.
Quite a mix.
Oh, yeah. Good year. And yeah, so we already mentioned this game was received, pretty highly. People loved it. Very positive reviews, 8s and 9s. People really like the narrative, the depth, the freedom, the open world. The only critique I could really find was that some people thought the game was like could have been a bit more focused as far as like what you're doing. But that kind of goes against the whole freedom thing. So take it as it is. All right, now it is time for the discussion. And I've already mentioned. No one has finished it besides Aaron, but we all have played it, right? At least some hours. Yep.
10 hours. I think that's good enough.
Oh, that's good.
So I guess I would love to know where you guys dropped off. Like, because the game is structured over a couple days. Where did you guys tap out? Yeah,
I can go first. So I didn't make it past the first day. I played for 6-ish hours, and I got to there's like a strike going on, and this guy was talking a lot, and I was not interested in what he was saying. And it was at that point that I decided this game is not for me. And I then turned it back on, and I wanted to open this curtain at this bookstore, and I did that, and I was like, ooh, there's something a little, something's going on here. And then I started playing it some more, and then I was like, yeah, it's not for me. And then I stopped. That's how far I got. I never took the body down. I'll say that.
Okay.
Mox?
I took these 2 traits that were, gosh, I can't remember the names of them. The one that you can like recreate the crime scene in your brain.
Visual calculus.
And then the other one I think was Inland Empire.
Yeah.
Which are 2 mental whatever abilities.
Psyche?
Yeah.
I think, or intellect.
So, and then I also allotted my points such that I had 1 pip of health. So the first time I played it, I got through, I took the body down, did the whole investigation, did all this other stuff. And then I listened to the necktie and something happened and I just died because I only had 1 health point. Yeah. I was irate. But I started again.
Why?
And I used my upgrade to take the extra health point you can get because I really wanted those 2 abilities. So I did it was like hours to do the body investigation because you have to go through a whole bunch of different things because he recreates the crime scene in his head. And then talking in the bookstore, that took a long time. Ooh, I don't remember what happened after that.
So you made your own character. So you got maybe like to the second day?
I think just before it because it was the main guy who narrates your inner thoughts speaks so slowly. I had enough.
Speaking of the necktie thing, I'm unless I missed it, unless I like have some amnesia or something. My necktie did not talk to me.
I was talking to Tyler because I was like, Tyler, do you have a necktie? Did you get the necktie off the fan? He was like, oh yeah, I did this, I did that, and then I got the necktie.
He did not get the necktie.
And I was like, does yours talk to you? And he was like, no, what are you talking about? Because mine talks to me a lot.
Yeah.
And he's got like I guess it's a Scottish accent.
Yeah.
And just tells me to do really stupid stuff.
Well, so I was talking to my friends who played a lot of this game, and I told them my story that I was frustrated with this game because I listened to the necktie and I died. And they were like, why? How would you ever listen to what the necktie said? And I said, he said something reasonable at the time. And then I died, and they were incredulous. And I tried to recreate it for them, and I couldn't figure it out.
Whoa.
Yeah.
There's so many rules that happen in the background that you don't know about that can drastically change how everything works and how your story's going to play out. That it's wild.
How far did you get, Austin?
So I recorded the footage for this, and every time that I thought about getting back on, I got depressed. I kept trying to psych myself up for it. I was like, maybe just don't think about it as like you're trying to accomplish this goal. Just like go explore the world. And then I was like, no, I hate this world too. And then you and Mox were both telling me about your troubles with it. Then I was like, I'm not having a good time with it. It doesn't sound like they're having a good time with it for a lot of the same reasons I'm not. Let me go find a video that's like, here's why this is a masterpiece. And every good point they brought up in favor of it was something I hated. It was just like, yep, I don't think this is for me. So I think I was getting close to getting the body down, but I had not gotten the body down, and everything that I did failed miserably. And it seemed like anything that was a good idea failed, and so we were only left with bad ideas.
Life's like that sometimes.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the point, but yeah.
Yeah.
So 3 people didn't get past day number 1.
Mm-hmm.
But do you remember the characters? So Mox, it sounds like you made your own character.
Oh yeah, I thought, why would you do anything else?
Well, the first time when I played through the one I beat, I picked the intellectual. Like when you start the game, you get 3 character pre-made options, like an intellectual, an empath, and then a physical instrument person. So I did the intellectual because I just wanted encyclopedia, logic, visual calculus. I wanted all that stuff. And that's what carried me through, and I learned a lot about the world. I mean, I missed some things because he was a weakling, but I didn't even dip my toe in the create a character.
I did the create a character, and I made everything flat. Centrist. I know.
Well, it's funny. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mox.
Well, I was going to say it's funny that you guys are talking about create a character because the speed run relies on a glitch to give yourself 6 points in all of the aspects, and then you take that red shivers skill, and then that's how you beat the game fast.
Yeah, I have an understanding of where that falls in because there's a check, on the 3rd day that you can make, and if you pass it early, then a lot of the mystery unravels itself or reveals itself. But we can talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. So yeah, we already, very dialogue heavy. There's no combat that, from my understanding, but there's a lot of skill checks that are combat, but it's just a skill check. You're not like actively doing something. Is that right? That's right.
I don't know. I guess when you say combat, no, there's no fighting, but there is combat happens in the game.
Yeah. There's 4 primary abilities: intellect, psyche, physique, and motorics. And each ability has the 6 secondary skills associated with it, which is what you were talking about, Aaron and Mox, with the visual calculus, encyclopedia, etc. You increase your skills by leveling up. Clothing can also give you plus or minus to a skill. There's an inventory system, and I'm curious what people thought about the thought cabinet. Austin, you probably didn't witness the thought cabinet, I don't think.
Are those the things you internalize?
You can internalize them, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I experienced that.
Oh,
I
you
thought
did some
that
of
was
that?
an interesting idea.
Yeah.
I so you have to get a specific one before they tell you about it, and I had gotten something else before that I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's like, I didn't know that there was a spot I had to go start the process of internalizing until after they told me about the first one. It was like, well, if I had been working on this now, then maybe I would have been able to internalize that by the end of the day. And it's kind of important that I internalize that by the end of the day.
Because it takes in-game time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mox,
Not sleeping.
what did you think about the thought cabinet?
I get annoyed at all of the different like things that are going on outside of the actual investigation. I did it. I was like, oh great, there has to be a research mechanic. This is it. But it didn't, I don't know, interest me that much.
Yeah. I thought it was cool, but it was like another mechanic. Aaron? Yeah, what'd you think?
I mean, it is a mechanism for further exploring the world and this character who, has complete amnesia. Mechanically, that's it's a method of getting lots of experience, lots of money. There are certain thoughts that once you internalize, it just gives you money every time you make like an ultra liberal dialogue decision. You get $1. Or you get experience every time you click on one of those orbs. So in this playthrough, I just prioritized maxing out the thought cabinets, unlocking all the little nodes, and always like trying to internalize something. And then, by doing that, you get a lot of experience, and that for a lot of skill points, which means by the, in the later half of the game, you have all these skill points that you can just store and use on those white checks to re-roll them.
Is money like pretty important in this game?
So one of the first things that you learn in the game is that you owe like $130 to the hostel that you're staying at, the hotel you're staying at. And if you don't come up with that money, you are homeless, and the game has ways of making sure that you don't die, but you have to make some pretty tough decisions to keep that, to pay that bill and move forward with the story. And then for a little bit, you have to have $20 a day to sleep at the end of the day. So it's like a pressing concern in the beginning, and then it lightens up considerably after that.
I was taking a different approach because I kind of ran out of hope of finding enough money to pay.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, so I was trying to internalize figuring out where my home address was, so that I could just go home to my house.
Oh yeah, there's no going home. There's no going home for this guy.
Oh no. Is there anything that anyone else would like to add about gameplay mechanics about this game?
I guess the thing that pushed me away is the constant. There's just you have a conversation in the game with someone, but while you're doing that, all these different things are happening.
Yep.
Your inner voices are talking. They all have different voices. There's a check that come out, like, I don't know if you guys play D&D, but you get real nervous when you hear your DM rolling behind their screen and nothing is going on.
Yes.
And it's just constant. And the voices weren't incredibly high quality, and most of them it took me out of the game thinking, oh, that isn't very good voice actor, or I don't really like that voice. There's a few, your partner Kim, I liked his voice. He kept me in the game. But everybody else, I just kind of was pulled out of it. And with so many voices, they all have something to say, and it is so much text. I'm usually like, give me all the text. But the way the writing is in this game, it is both like inscrutable and vapid. I don't know. I'm not reading anything, and then I never get it when there is something to read.
What's interesting, Mox, is I thought, because I know you're such a text-heavy person usually with games, right? Like, we don't call you the lore queen for nothing. I honestly thought you would like love this game, and that
me too.
Yeah, it's crazy. Aaron, anything? Go ahead.
I was
Mox,
going to say,
sorry.
just, they're not. I like reading lore. In Final Fantasy 16, there's like, this is all meat that is interesting to me and applies to what's going on. All of this is just people's opinions, and I don't care about their opinions. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Aaron, anything you want to add before we move on to visuals?
I mean, I tag up. It's kind of like a visual novel. Like there is lore about the world, which looks a lot like it could be taking place, in Pittsburgh or something when you first start it, and then you realize that the edge of the world is destroying itself. Like they live in a pocket of matter surrounded by antimatter that's erasing all of existence. It's like they talk about the Pale and they talk about all this stuff that's really high concept, but you have to dig through these dialogue trees, and you have to pass checks. You don't have to pass a ton of checks, but the game is constantly rolling those dice to see if you notice that you can pick up something, or to see if you notice that you can hear stuff in the distance, or you feel a certain way, or based on how your stats are organized, you can have a very different playthrough just based on what the game offers up to you, saying that you passed this check this time.
The thing that I read was that, speaking of the checks and everything, that this game discourages min-maxing a bit, because if you max out a skill or like max out something, there's like a negative effect that happens. Is that
not every check is positive, right? Not everything that you pass is going to have a great, you don't want to scave scum. You don't want to sit there and constantly try to make a check, because sometimes passing the check, it will have negative effects later on. Sometimes asking questions in the wrong order will have the person, feeling a certain way about you, and that will influence whether or not they want to answer further questions, or if they want to help you.
I see. Makes sense. Okay, let's move on to the visuals. I like how this game looks. It has like this almost like water painted type style to it. I thought it was really pretty, but I am curious. Mox, what did you think of the visuals?
It is just too grungy. It just goes too far to grunge for me. It's like hard to see what's happening.
There is some blur, right? Because of the style, yeah. Aaron, what about you visually?
I mean, I agree. The oil painting kind of, or the watercolor look of everything, it does make it feel a little washed out. And I don't know if you want to attribute that to like the main character's, hangover, not making sense of things. But I'll tell you this, it gets high marks because what you equip on your character is represented on your character's model. And that's the bar to pass.
Yes, sir. That is, I love when that happens. Gosh, I guess Stranger of Paradise or whatever, your character does that, and they just look absolutely ridiculous sometimes.
And even better when it shows up in the cutscenes.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. You gotta play Fashion Souls.
Yeah. Austin, visuals?
So I liked the style. I have a very hard time with isometric games of like making out fine details in the world and being able to notice things. And so this did a pretty decent job of being like, oh, here's a thing that you can go interact with. But for some reason, just when I have that kind of view, my eyes just kind of glaze over on what I'm looking at. And so it makes it really hard for me. Everyone's like, oh, the graphics in Diablo, when I played Diablo 3, everyone's like, the graphics in it are so good. And I'm like, I can't see anything that's going on. I know there's a guy over there and that I'm whacking him, but any of the fine details are lost to me.
Yeah. It does help that you can hold tab and it'll highlight anything that you can interact with.
Yeah,
for sure.
Tab
I
is
did
nice.
play this with a controller.
Oh, okay.
And I will say I don't recommend anyone play this with a controller.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, same. I was going to talk about that later as well, because my first experience was a lot worse than my second experience because of that. Yeah. Mox, how did you play? Well, we'll get there. Save it. Sorry. Moving on to the audio. So the soundtrack is by this band called Sea Power, or I think they're formerly known as British Sea Power. They're an English alt-rock band. And I was a big fan of the music that I heard in the short time that I played it, especially in the like lobby area. I thought that was pretty solid. Austin, what do you think? Music?
It was good. I was focusing more on trying to figure out what was going on, so like I didn't really have times where I was like really thinking about the music. But anytime like a new track would pop on when I enter an area, I'd be like, ooh, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Aaron, music?
I mean, there's 2 tracks that stand out. It's the what plays in the whirling and rags spot, and then what plays right outside with the horns.
Yep.
That kicks on. Like, I hear those a bunch. I love them both. But I couldn't tell you really anything else about the music because it all kind of fades into the background.
Yeah. Those are the 2 songs, but I guess that's also the beginning. So.
But yeah, and you hear them so often. You're always going back to the hotel, and you're always stepping out of the hotel.
Yeah. Mox, what about you? Anything stick out? Are you going to pick this up? Is this going on the playlist?
it definitely faded into the background, but it wasn't obtrusive, so that's good.
Yeah, that is true. It wasn't obtrusive. Okay. Controls and interface. Aaron, how did you play this game? And what did you think?
Keyboard and mouse the whole time. I would like that the number pad let me do dialogue options, and that when I'm out in the world, I could use 1, 2, 3, and 4 to open up those little menus instead of typing, C for character or J for journal. The little quality of life things there, but I never once had a feeling where I couldn't make my character do what I was trying to get him to do with the keyboard and mouse.
What about
mainly?
Yeah. What about the overall interface of the game?
I like it. I like, I feel like it has a coherent kind of UI style that fits with the narrative conceits. When you open up a menu, you have kind of this tape reel thing that shuffles for a second. And that fits in line with like the technology that the world is supposed to use. The inventory is easily laid out. More inventories like that, where you have 4 categories. It's easy to get through everything. The stat sheet with the 24 different attributes that you can upgrade. I love the art for each of those. I think that's all. Everything's really evocative. Everything feels really considered and put together with care.
Yeah. Mox, for you?
I agree that it's very cohesive, and they spent a lot of time on this, but I played it with a controller. It's so hard to make him move where I'd like him to. I regret it.
Yeah.
Or, man, even in the first room, just like trying to get him to interact with stuff.
Yeah.
Was a real pain.
How does a controller even work? How do you... I can't even wrap my mind around how a controller interfaces with an isometric or band adventure game like this. Do you just walk up to things, or can you move like a cursor with the right analog stick?
I'm trying to remember exactly how it...
So you could press one of the triggers, I forget, or whatever, to like highlight things, but you pressed a button to like tab between all of the things to hand, and it wasn't natural at all.
Yeah, and sometimes it would you would push a button to do something and it would just eat the input and be like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, he moves, he kind of staggers around, and it has like it puts you in, you're in the space of these objects that are to hand. It doesn't show you something that's all the way across the room, like immediately, although sometimes it did, and then he would stagger towards it. But it just, like, I couldn't get him to be where I wanted him to be.
He's doing the old jam rock shuffle.
Tired of him.
I played on Steam Deck initially, and with controller or with controls, and then I played the rest on mouse and keyboard, and it was much more enjoyable mouse and keyboard for me, at least. Austin, you mentioned too, controller was bad.
I did controller.
Yeah.
Would not recommend.
Is this only the first game that I can think of where we said don't use a controller?
It might be.
Maybe.
I think it is. I think it is. Yeah. And to me, the interface was, I like that it was all like the same, but I don't think it's the interface. I think it's what Mox was talking about in the beginning around like when things interrupt you regularly, like when you're having a conversation like this,
like the intrusive thoughts.
Yeah. To me, that made things kind of, I don't know, I was very scattered because of that. Like my brain did not like that. It was not an enjoyable experience.
especially early on when you don't know what that is. It's just like, what is happening? Because you're not like having a conversation at the time. It's like,
why are there
Are you talking about
all
those
these different
the
names keep
bubbles
popping in?
that pop up around you, and when you like start talking to yourself?
Mhm.
Yeah, not the bubbles, but also like if you're just having a conversation with someone and then you have an
Inland Empire says this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's like
electrochemistry
something in your
says
brain.
ask him for
Yeah.
a cigarette.
yeah, encyclopedia says blah 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 blah. Yeah,
Mm.
it's like, oh, okay, yeah, cool.
And like most of them are played by the same voice, so it all seems just like, yeah.
Who's this third person
very strange.
that's here? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Performance. Moving on here. So I played it on Steam Deck. Initially, it performed really well, and then I played it on like I don't know, lower. Like I have like a 1080 machine from 7 years ago or something, and it was pretty solid. It was fine. Aaron, I know that you said that you played on like a laptop initially, your first playthrough. That was not great.
I've played this over 3 machines.
Oh wow!
And it ran on all of them. The loading times on the laptop were a little long, and it wasn't super enjoyable just to hunch over the laptop screen and trying to read stuff and pick up coins and whatnot. But it ran. I could have played it all on a pretty low spec machine, and then once I got a medium upgrade, it ran great. And then I got a big upgrade, and I don't think it could run any better.
Did you, since you played it more than we have, did you experience any like bugs or anything? Like
I feel like there was, when I was on the laptop, I bet I had a crash or two where it just, where it froze up. But it saves pretty often, and you can make easy, quick saves. And I think when you move from room to room, it doesn't autosave.
Yeah.
So I never felt like I lost so much progress that it was disheartening. Sometimes you get a crash and you're like, I'm 30 minutes back and I'm never going to touch this game again.
Mm-hmm. I know that the PS5 versions or PS4 version specifically had like bad bugs. Apparently, like you couldn't finish the game initially, which is kind of nuts. Mox, did you play on your Steam Deck computer?
Steam Deck. It was fine.
Yeah. Austin?
I played on my desktop. And it worked very well.
No bugs? No one had any bugs?
No.
Mox, no bugs?
No bugs.
No bugs.
Well, you keep saying bug, and there's a bug in the game, and I'm waiting for us to get to the lore so we could talk about the bug.
All right, moving on to the story, the lore, the meat. I guess Aaron or Mox, one of you, feel free to take it away. Aaron, if you want to start.
Is this after this?
Popping on the spoiler tag?
Yeah,
spoilers! Spoilers tag
is lore.
is on.
Don't play
it's
this
on.
game. Like, if you want to play this game, stop listening.
That's true.
Definitely.
The reason you're playing is for this reason. Yeah.
I have written out a skeleton of the story, and I was hoping Aaron would interrupt me if he had something to say.
Do it, Mox.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Okay, so you play as Harry. He's a cop who used to be very good at his job and didn't kill very many people and solved a great many cases. But I think it's implied that he used substances to get all those things done and became more erratic over time. But nobody fired him because he was so successful in the past. His unit was assigned this case, but he kind of drove them off with his craziness. And he had I think it was a 7-day bender, and he harassed locals, trashed establishments, and then crashed. And then we start the game and he's amnestic and we're not sure what's going on. And he, in that time, did not start investigating the murder that he had came there for, which is someone from a mercenary group who belongs to this company that's trying to bust this union group that is quite powerful. The leader of that merc group was lynched, quote unquote, behind the hotel that you're at. And so you go try to investigate this body that has been rotting away for 7 days. And so the union denies involvement. The mercs are out for blood. You keep tracking down leads. I think you track down 3 leads, but each of them goes nowhere. You come back to where you started at the end of each of these leads. There's side stories which include investigating paranormal phenomena and cryptids, but they usually end ambiguously, so it's not clear if they exist in this world. You learn about the history of the world, which includes this thing called the Pale, like we talked about earlier, which is like an antimatter phenomenon that blankets the world and is slowly eating the world. And then at one point, the Merc group gets frustrated with the lack of progress and shows up to confront the Union people for a quote-unquote tribunal, which is the combat,
right?
the shootout.
Pew pew.
You can choose who to save, I guess, or work with. You can save some lives, but not all of them. And then you find that the person who killed this mercenary is this old man who was just jealous that he had a girlfriend, and the old man didn't have that girlfriend. But then, as you're like solving this mystery, the cryptid, if you followed up with the cryptid side quest, shows up and is like, hey, stop, let go of your girlfriend in the past. And then
what?
Like, that's it.
Wait, is the cryptid is the cryptid shows up?
Yes, yeah. If you play your cards right? If there's lots of the ways that you could not see the cryptid at the very end. Is
it a bug?
It's not it is. It's a big old stick bug.
It's horrifying.
Exactly. It's bigger than than the cryptozoologist you meet describe. But that was a pretty good encapsulation of the story. Finding that stick bug is one of the last things that you do before you solve the murder, and then kind of get your debriefing by the other cops that show up, where you get to where your partner Kim Kitsuragi, he's not your partner, he's a cop from a neighboring precinct, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who
I thought
shows
he was
up
your partner.
the beginning. No, he doesn't like to be called your partner because he's not your partner. He's assisting with the case. So he shows up because the two districts that you guys work for are kind of vying over who is actually policing Martinez, the town that this whole thing takes place in. So he shows up. You were already there, but you did jack all, aside from threaten to kill yourself and call yourself a superstar cop and destroy a bunch of stuff.
Jeez.
So at the beginning of the game, you're suffering complete ego death, right? The game opens with complete darkness. You're as close to the oblivion as you can get while you're still breathing. And then you come back knowing nothing about yourself, nothing about the world, nothing about who you are or why you're here. And then Kim Kitsuragi is the straight man who answers a lot of your questions patiently. He kind of keeps you on the right track.
Yeah.
And he's the stern gaze that's hopefully keeping you from drinking on the job or doing speed or, threatening to kill yourself again.
Jeez.
Because when you start, you're a police officer, but you have no badge, you have no gun, you have no cruiser, you have no notes. You've lost all these things, and finding all of them and piecing together who you are, like what your name is, even, or what you look like. You don't even know what you look like in the beginning.
Yeah.
Or where your shoes are.
Yeah, where it's all these basic
pants.
things, and it makes sense that you are a police officer because your kind of innate answers to things are to look at stuff. Like if you have high visual calculus, right, or high perception, you can say, this hole in the window is made from throwing something out. The glass is on the outside. It's bigger than your fist. It's smaller than a piece of furniture. What? It matches the size of that shoe you found. So you have that cop instinct inside of you, that detective instinct that's there, but everything else is up to the player to decide.
So does anyone know is there like a good and bad ending? Or are they all kind of bad? Or
there's one conclusion to the mystery, right? There's one outcome to who actually killed this person. So as Mox was saying, there's hanging. They want to know who hanged this person. You find out the person was a mercenary for the Wild Pines group company, and that's a huge logistics and shipping company that does, like, I don't know, some large percentage of all of commerce. They have their fingers in all the commerce. So they're outside Revachol or Martinet, where this all takes place. And then there's the Union, run by Everett Clare, sorry. He's super corrupt, and he's having a strike to make sure that the board has all the workers have a say on all the decisions, which Wild Pines thinks is untenable. So there's this big strike, and then during the strike, this mercenary gets murdered. It looks like a hanging. you do some investigation. You find he was shot before he was hanged. So then you have to figure out why hang a dead body.
Gosh, this Aaron had okay, never mind. I can't say it without spoiling, but
what? We're in the spoiler zone.
We're in the spoilers.
No, it's going to spoil another game, and
don't spoil another game.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, keep going, Aaron. You're doing great.
Oh,
Sorry.
well, so, I mean, you follow a bunch of leads, right? And there's a bunch of side stories, side cases as your character talks about them. You know, there's a bookstore where the person thinks that there's a curse that's causing all the businesses to close. So you can investigate that, and you can find out maybe what the cause of that is. And that ties into what's going on in an abandoned church that is also...
Oh yeah,
you know, you find a church, and inside of it, you find a cone of silence, basically, and you get the revelation eventually that this is also there's like a dot of pale here, and this whole place is going to get destroyed in time as that dot of pale gets larger and larger, like a puncture through reality. So you're like coming to grips with these, you know, pretty reality altering situations while you are still trying to figure out like how to put pants on. Basically, you're so removed from things. But yeah, it ends with one thing. You find that spoilers for the ending. It was a dirty communist who has been holding out since the revolution that destroyed this whole town, that caused Wild Pines basically to come in and take ownership of things. He's been holding out for 40 plus years, living in a bunker, and then he saw these people from the company, these people who had no business being on here. Like, he's the one true communist. You can, as a cop, you can say a bunch of communist things like, "Oh, down with the bourgeoisie, and the proletariat should have more of a say in everything," and he'll just call you on your shit because he's the only one who he's an active communist.
Mm-hmm.
But you find him. You can close the whole case. And then when you talk about different endings, Kim Kitsuragi can get injured at some point during that tribunal. So maybe he's not there. Maybe that kid who was throwing stones
Kuno?
at the
Kuno.
Come on, man.
Kuno, yeah.
There's only one way to describe him.
Yeah.
That little rat thing. He can be your partner, right? You can. And Kim can get injured, and he can be your partner, and they can.
That sounds awful.
It is awful. I would never let anything happen to my boy Kim.
Yeah. Jeez.
It's my friend. But yeah, at the end they dress you down. They say like, you did a good job, you were a bad cop, you were a psycho, you did drugs all the time.
Yeah.
And then you kind of get, a small resolution.
That doesn't go ahead, Mox.
I want to go back to the bug.
Yeah, back to the bug.
Which is, I read this Reddit thread that someone was like, I don't get it. Why is there a bug? And this person who's posted the thread said, I couldn't talk to the bug. I missed the skill check. And then the bug leaves if you do that. But then someone who's like, if you didn't get the check, here's what it is in this Reddit post, Nikopol. He's like, this whole game, you are, chasing down this thing. Is there a conspiracy? Is there cryptid? Is there psychotic? Or sorry, what is it called? Phenomena? Paranormal phenomena? Or is it not real? Are people just lying? Or is this person an unreliable narrator? And then at the end, this bug shows up, and the bug is kind of built up as like this thing that's enormous and has been going on this whole time. Has been like walking the world from the beginning of time, collecting information, and then it shows up to this person who is unimportant, awful, the first time in all of the universe, and just tells it to, tells him, stop, get over your old girlfriend. It's just like, really? That's so stupid, so it's nothing. That's what this person's interpretation was, and I like it.
What a reward.
I know.
Makes me want to go get all the
Korok
seeds in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
It's a nice culmination because the first, one of the first people you talk to in the game is this paraplegic cryptozoologist who's super sweet. She gives you a pen if you're just talking to her. She's concerned about your head. She'll talk to you about the cryptids that she really enjoys, and they're here looking for this walking stick bug.
Yeah, she's the wife, right, to the guy investigating.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you, like, the way the game is structured, you can't even get to a large part of the game until after the third day. And then you can meet the husband and tell him that the wife is looking for him. So they're like looking for this walking stick bug. And you can, when you find him, you can take a picture of it. And then you go back and Lena's gone. Like they up and left that right before you got back
They lost hope.
with photo evidence of the thing that they've been looking for. So it's like, it does leave a lot to be desired. It's not like this nice wrapped
No, it's
up
awful.
little story. Well, life is awful sometimes, and
Yes,
I feel like it
doesn't.
doesn't give you the nice, hey, everything's going to be fine, or
Right.
oh my gosh, I can't believe you found that for me. You take it and you put it with an envelope and you say, hey, we found this thing. You were right all along, and you mail it off, and that's like the last you'll ever interact with that person. You'll go back to your job as a cop, or maybe not, and they'll go on being cryptozoologists, and who knows if that photo will get to where it's supposed to go.
The feeling of this ending reminds me of a TV show that Austin recommended me. Austin, do you know the TV show that I'm talking about? Before Her Eyes?
No.
I don't know if you remember the end of that.
Oh
I
my
do.
gosh.
Yeah,
You're spoiling something.
but I'm not
Don't
spoiling
spoil it.
anything. It's just same feeling. I'm having the same feeling.
I really enjoyed that ending.
That's
and this
funny.
Sounds like the whole point is that you aren't getting a satisfying ending.
Well,
Well, what's the
disagree.
satisfying ending? You find the murderer, right? You find out about yourself. You have the opportunity to understand what it is that you did wrong in the past and make changes. Like
Mhm.
my Harry, my character never drinks, doesn't smoke. I can't bring him to even look at a bottle of alcohol. I feel terrible about, anytime electrochemistry tells me that I should smoke a discarded cigarette. Like, I don't want that for him. I want him to be a better person. I want him to make not psychotic choices. I want him to be a caring individual. And you can kind of form him into that over the course of the game. And then you solve the murder mystery and you get judged based on some of those decisions. And I think that's the real resolution. The whole thing with the stick bug, you never have to engage with any of that. Like, that's more of an Easter egg than a culmination of the story. That's playing your cards right and following your instincts, and like you said, shivers, having stuff like that lets you feel the world around you and be more in tune with the paranormal.
Well, tell us can we get to personal takes?
We're getting there.
Oh, okay. Because he's talking about things that I want to talk about. My personal take.
All right. Well, we're gonna wrap up the story. I'm gonna turn off.
Oh,
Should I
you
keep?
have to keep the spoilers.
I have to keep it
the
on?
Spoilers on.
All right. I'll keep it on, Mox. Go ahead, Mox. Start us off.
Oh, okay. Well, as you were just talking, Aaron, what I liked and also hated about that kind of ending, it reminded me of, oh gosh, what is the From Software one that's kind of Cthulhu?
Bloodborne.
Bloodborne.
Yes. I like Bloodborne and the Cthulhu mythos in general, because it's like, as you learn more, you become more insane.
Mm-hmm.
And then you perceive these awful things, and it makes you crazier. And it reminded me, like, this game reminded me of that. And I also like in the lore that it's not clear, because he's such an unreliable narrator. It's unclear, like, that anything that's happening, all these voices talking and you can teleport at some point, like if any of that actually happens, and trying to think, well, what could have actually happened, not taking anything at its word. So I enjoyed that. I mean, that's kind of like the theme of the game, I think. But the actual, minute by minute playing the game was just so tough for me, especially with the slow voice of the narrator. I watched hour, 45-minute, like, here's the story of the game. And I watched it on 1.35 speed. And at that speed, did the narrator speak in a slightly slow pace, which was what drove me away from the game. But I appreciate... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we need a narrator speed mod.
Yes, I would love that.
Yeah.
I feel bad because, that guy, the narrator wasn't awful, although his voice was very gravelly.
Mhm.
But anyway, I appreciated the game that it was made, and so much effort obviously was put into creating this lore that is really out of, like, left field. None of this is something that I could say, oh, this is inspired by that. It was very like, wow, this is something out of someone I
Mhm.
couldn't even imagine. But the game itself was just so hard to play. I feel like I can't rate it because I didn't play it, but I appreciated the lore.
Appreciated the lore. DNF unrated from Mox.
Yes.
I thought the music was really nice and the visuals, but for the most part, it was not for me. The dialogue was a lot. I'm not a big adventure game person, as you guys already know, except Beacon Pines, One Love. But every other game that I play, I don't know. I can't get into it. Maybe I'm just dumb. I don't know, but it's just not for me. It was a lot. And the interruptions of the intrusive thoughts was a little confusing to follow. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't there, and I didn't feel great playing this game. Like when I would go to play it, I didn't feel good things. And I like to feel good things when I play a game, usually. It's like, oh, I want to feel something positive. Let me play a game versus, yeah. There are some exceptions to that rule. But anyway, if I were to rate this, for me, as a DNF abandoned, I would give this a 5. Because for me, it's just not for me. But, Austin? Spoiler?
Yeah, so...
Or personal take?
Yeah. I also struggled with this pretty hard. There's stuff about it that I like. I like the idea of all these silent rolls happening in the background. Like, usually I would not like that, but enough weird stuff happened that I could talk to you about and be like, did you encounter this? No? That's super weird. I had this necktie talking to me. And I appreciate, like, the amount of things that they put in that could happen. And so, like, if you can get on board with that, where it's just like, yeah, my playthrough, like, I'm giving up control of what's going to happen in my playthrough. I'm just going to experience this. Then that could be a pretty cool mechanic. And so I was able to get into, like, the intrusive thoughts and, like, oh, that's funny that he said that, and oh, necktie, what are you doing here? That being said, anytime I would try to, like, progress something, I felt like it was very time-consuming and difficult to make small progress. And you would need to, like, oh, well, let's go talk to this person, but you would need to really dig through their dialogue.
Yeah, they wanted to tell you.
I saw something, it was like, I shouldn't even call this a dialogue tree. It's like a dialogue root network system. Where you can go off onto these crazy tangents and still not find what you need to find. And like you said, Mox, there's just so much dialogue.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I really would just like to progress this point. And so I would wrestle between, like, okay, should I work on the main story? I have this side investigation I can do. And anytime that I did a side investigation, I felt like I had wasted my time. And then anytime I would work on the main story, I would feel like maybe I was supposed to do a side investigation to have a better option here. And then I started to realize maybe there just are, a lot of the time, are not good options for how to proceed. And that's just kind of the deal. But it did make me feel like anything that I did was kind of a waste of my time. The feeling I got out of this game was, it was kind of like playing a D&D campaign. Like you kind of brought that up earlier, Mox. I felt like I was playing a D&D campaign, but it was my first time playing, and I didn't have anybody else with me to, like, kind of guide the party along. Like, oh, let's go find information at the tavern, and we should probably pick up this stuff at the shop before we go. And so I was just, it felt like my DM was just taking everything very seriously and just like, oh no, I'm not going to give you a helping hand at all. And so I just kind of blundered around for a while without really knowing, like, how to get to the next big point. I struggled with it pretty hard. I bounced off it pretty hard, and I'm going to have to give it a DNF. I don't think I can properly rate this game. This is not a game. Usually when I find a game that's this positively reviewed that I don't want to play, like, I can appreciate what the game is, but I don't want to play it. Usually with that kind of thing, I would like to watch somebody play it, and I don't think I would even like to watch somebody play this. it's just that's how the gameplay is not for me. The story is not for me. This is one that's not for me.
Aaron, bring us home.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Tell us why we're wrong, Aaron.
Take all your time.
okay,
Yeah, take your time.
It was mentioned, Tyler, at the beginning that it references Planescape Torment, and that's a game that's also close to my heart, marred by having combat. Right, it has such an inventive world. It has all these great characters to talk to. It's got an amnesiac main character who's trying to find out all the things that he screwed up in the past. And I love that game. And this is the adventure game that says, well, let's do something similar to that without any of the combat. Or whatever combat there is, it's just going to be a dice roll after a decision on a dialogue screen. So it's already in like rare air with that. And I like adventure games, but I'm not crazy about the pixel hunting or trying to go into one room to find a cage and then another room to find a piece of cheese and then a third room to find a mouse hole so I can get a rat and I can take it to a fourth room and unleash the rat in a dressing room so I can sneak in. Those are fun, but it's nice to have a game that's really just all about putting dialogue options together, putting observations together, asking questions, and then kind of remembering the answers to those questions while talking to somebody else. There's a game by Wadjet Eye called The Shiva. It's one of the earlier games, and that's an adventure game where the only things you pick up are dialogue options, so you can ask people about certain things. And that's in the same vein. I thought that was really great too. It's a nice spin on the adventure game style. Saying all that, and for how much I like this game, I would not have beaten it if it wasn't for the constant praise it was getting during 2020. I started it, like I said, on that laptop. Didn't have a great time with the loading screens. I'd put it away for a long time because it does take a long time to progress, especially in the beginning when you have these big tasks that you're failing at, and to get the body down off the tree, you're probably going to have to be a little racist. You're going to have to think racist thoughts so that the racist will help you. It sucks to do that. But and then the second playthrough, some of these things, you can do it a little bit more streamlined, a little quicker. But if I hadn't had that sort of praise in my ear, I would have probably left it on the shelf. I'm glad I came back to it. It did take me months to go from when I started the game to when I finished it the first time. Lots of stops in there. Because, you can spend several hours of a real life day just exploring one small area and talking to the people in there and not feeling like you're making a lot of progress until, the next in-game day or further down the line when things kind of fall into place. So I think that the game feels better. The characters are nicer. You learn more about Kim. You learn more about yourself, the world around you, as you progress, but getting over that initial hump is a real challenge. So I don't blame any of you guys for not finishing it. I do know you guys got a lot on your plates. I don't think that any of you are going to come back to it, but I'm glad you can understand kind of where I'm coming from with this. In 2020, I rated my games of the year.
Oh,
and number 1 was Yakuza 7. Number 2 was Disco Elysium, and number 3 was Hades.
Dang.
So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 9 out of 10. I think that is a great example of a modern adventure game. I think that it has a great world, a great story that is singular. You aren't going to find this world with these scenarios or the Pale and the radio punk technology that's going on anywhere else. Even though the company still exists and they might be working on another game, all the creative talent has left. So they just have new people coming in. And I think that it's not how I would play the game, but it does give you a lot of the tools to go really off the wall, to make some really wild choices, to play a really wild character. And I'm sure that is a whole nother, that's a whole nother game. Right. That I don't have the bravery to dip my foot into, where I would never let my boy Kim think that I'm less than a perfect little angel cop. But it really affected me. It stayed in my mind. I'm enjoying the second playthrough that I did, kind of getting ready for this pod. I don't know if I'll finish it, but it's something that I was glad to talk about and come back and revisit.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was.
Thanks for shedding the light on.
Oh
that.
yeah. Well, that was a little dive in our take on Disco Elysium. If you enjoyed hearing us discuss and want to join us for the next Video Game Club episode, stay put, because the vote just ended, and it was between Teslagrad Remastered, Escapegoat 2, and Axiom Verge 2. And it's tied right now, Austin, between
Ooh,
Escapegoat
please,
2
Verge.
and Axiom Verge 2. So,
Ooh, man. Let's see. I was not anticipating a tie, especially between those two games. Nox, you were saying you wanted Axiom Verge 2?
I so want to play that game. I want to
Okay,
play.
we'll do Escapegoat another day. Axiom Verge 2 it
all
is.
right.
Yay.
Axiom Verge 2. Aaron, have you played Axiom Verge 1?
I played one, yes.
Oh, so
Come
have,
back and join
so
us.
have we. We've all played 1.
Mm.
So if you end up playing 2, let us know. You can definitely come back.
Please do.
Oh, well,
Oh.
that's great. I'll see if it's on that Steam sale.
Hell yeah.
It's not,
Aww.
sadly,
Boo.
full price.
Aw. Thank you everyone who voted though, and everyone who nominated a game as well, just in general. Thank you for everyone listening and watching. Next episode is going to be July 23rd at 2 Eastern. Mox, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Austin, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Aaron, you were such a lovely guest.
Yes.
We would love to have you back. You were wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank
Well, you guys weren't half bad yourselves. So
Aw.
thank you for the
Thank you.
opportunity to join you on the Video Game Club.
Absolutely, dude. And thank you, Andron, for working behind the scenes. I'm Tyler, and this was Video Game Club episode 73, Disco Elysium, and we're out.